This is the artifact selector tier list for the 4 artifact selectors we'll be getting in the Epic Dash event. And then we should mention that Song of Stars is a free artifact for new and returning players. In the events tab, you can get it from the rank up achievement thing. So definitely this artifact is not worth picking up because you'll have it for free. And even if you're a veteran who doesn't have this artifact, I would say this artifact is probably not worth picking up anyways. These 2 artifacts are not available due to being too recent. There is Thorn of a Blue Rose, which I think is a really good artifact, so pretty sad that it's not available. And then Assassin's Pledge, which is pretty much completely useless. The important thing with artifacts is that it's going to be really heavily dependent on what units you own. Even if you have an artifact that is said to be pretty good, if you do not have any of the units that can use it, then there's not really much of a point. We do have hero selectors, though, for normal hero selectors for all players, and then veterans have 4 fully decked hero selectors, while new players have 6 fully decked hero selectors. That's a lot of hero selectors. So you'll definitely be able to pick up a unit to use your artifacts on. So for ML5s, it's going to be a lot harder to plan around getting those because they are much harder to acquire. We have the ML Summon event, but it's RNG, you don't know who you're going to get. But with that in mind, especially if you're a newer player, I would consider letting your artifact selector sit for a bit so you can try and get more units. You have to claim all rewards in a week before you move to the next week, though. So you can't stall for that long, but you can just claim your selector on the last day and then let it sit in your mail for a bit. There's also the balance patch notes, which we should have on July 25th, barring any schedule changes. This is 1 week delayed, but they mentioned in the Epic 7 World Cup that there would be a balance patch on 8/7, so we should expect the notes on 7/25 2 weeks in advance. And this means that on the 3rd week, 8/20 or 7/25 lands on the 3rd week of the Epic Dash event. So if we take a look here where we can see which weeks the selectors land in, this is for new players. Week 2, if you don't claim your selector from week 2 until Saturday or Sunday, then you will be able to have this still be available in your mail until the the balance notes hit. And then obviously week 4 and week 6 will be after the balance notes hit, with week 4 being after it goes live, actually, if you hold it for long enough. And then for veterans, same thing. We only have 3 of them that can be used after the notes hit, because week 1 is going to be obviously before the notes hit and also expire before then. But you can just keep that in mind. If you don't have anything that's too high of a priority for you, you can wait and see what gets buffed. So let's go ahead and take a look at the S tier. So for S tier, I would say that these are artifacts with really good effects that are also pretty general. I'd consider them to be pretty future-proof because even if the current users fall out of favor, odds are a new unit or a buffed unit's going to be able to use it, which has happened plenty of time for these. First up is Windrider. Windrider is mostly used for high damage thieves. There are some alternatives, like Alexa's Basket gives you attack buff with a chance at greater attack buff, so this is typically used on thieves that don't have a self-attack buff in their kits, while Shepherd of the Hollow is used for evasion units, but a lot of other high damage thieves will be using this. Units like Spirit Iceline, Genua, Tori, Kisei, and Gaul can use this. The stealth that it gives after a kill is very useful for helping these units stay alive longer, and some of these units have built-in either damage reduction or immortality in their kits as well, so it just kind of adds on to that. And the massive attack boost you get after getting a kill helps with snowballing as well, especially for units like Genua or Tori or ML Celine. It's just you get a kill, and then it's easier to get your next kill as well. And then there's also the attack that you get just straight up, so even before you get a kill, it does still have some sort of effect at least. Next up is Bird's Eye View. This artifact gives you 15 to 20 souls, depending on limit breaks, after you use a non-attack skill. This is mostly used on Frida, though if you have a specific setup in Guild War or Arena, any Soul Weaver with a non-attack skill could hold it. The most important thing to keep in mind is that you should not limit break this artifact unless you know exactly why you're limit breaking it, because this artifact doesn't give you any souls until the holder actually uses a skill. So you can't just use this to give souls to your opener like a Tag of Hells, but you can put it on, let's just use Frida as an example. Your opener goes with the free soul burn from Frida's S2 passive, pushes up Frida, and then Frida uses her S3, which is a non-attack skill, and then you get the souls from Bird's Eye View. With that in mind, let's say Emma Luna is our opener. You use Emma Luna S3 into Frida S3. That's already giving you at least 5 souls. So then you add on Bird's Eye View. That's 15 more souls. You have 20 souls already. So you don't even need this more than plus 15 if you're using this with Emma Luna plus Frida. Some other setups might need a higher limit break though, in which case, yes, you would limit break this. Just make sure you're not limit breaking it for no reason. Frida should be getting a rerun after the current summer event ends, and she's definitely worth picking up. For Guild War and Arena, anytime you want souls, you can use this artifact. We'll use it on Young Senya, I use it on Emol or Light Dominiel, and sometimes DJ Bassar for Arena as well. It's worth keeping in mind that Frida's personal artifact, Spotted Mouse Hair Tie, is actually a decent substitute depending on your team and what you're hitting. It only gives 10 souls with an additional 10 souls, 75 to 100% chance after somebody uses a soul burn. Even though it needs plus 30 for consistency, sometimes 10 souls is already enough just with stuff like DBK S3. So that could be a potential replacement, but for now, we can just say Bird's Eye View, and also Bird's Eye View is a bit more generally useful. Like if you're fighting Bellion, for example, even if you seal her with Emma Luna, because the souls from Spotted Mouse Hair Tie come at the start of combat, and Bird's Eye View isn't until after a non-attack skill is used, you'll actually be able to get the souls from this. So next up is Sigurd Scythe. Sigurd Scythe is really good for any warrior bruiser, pretty much, typically attack scalers. It's a little bit lower than usual since there aren't that many strong users for right now. The effect is still really good, and it's been a top artifact for years at this point. Emil Young is the main user of this artifact right now, and some other users that probably shouldn't be influencing whether or not you pick this artifact are Emil Ken, Emil Bologna, Edward Elric, and Ravi, just as examples for users. The lifesteal that you get after dropping below half HP helps a lot with these bruisers sustaining up, and also you get bonus attack, which increases your damage dealt, but also increases the amount of healing you do because you will be dealing more damage. Plus you get a bit of attack even while above half HP, so it'll still have an effect no matter what. Lastly is Holy Sacrifice, which does need plus 30 to have a 100% proc chance, but it'll give you a revive and a barrier after your unit revives, 75 to 100% chance depending on limit break. And it's great for any knight that wants to stay alive longer, pretty much. You do need to account for other strong knight artifacts like Arius, of course, which you might want on your team, but this works great on units that don't want to be soaking up all of that damage. Some potential users are Mort, Crow, or Emelsenia. Abyssal Euphine can also use this, though I think most of them are just on Elbrus at this point. And in Arena, you might see some Emma Runkas on Holy Sacrifice just for cheesing, but that's not really her usual artifact. It's kind of just for Arena. The Revive and Barrier are, of course, great for keeping your unit alive longer. This can help with just keeping up annoying passives for units like Mort, or for stuff like Crow, you'll revive, and then he has his Arius passive as well, but also his S3 gives him a better chance of being able to get that off. So then, Proof of Valor is another damage reduction artifact, of course, but if you already have damage reduction somewhere, then Holy Sac could be a lot better. And also, some units ignore damage reduction anyways. Next up is the A tier. For this tier, I would say these are artifacts that have still pretty good effects and a couple of good users. They're just a little bit less general than the ones up here. For Renewed Will, this artifact is mainly for opener rangers, and it's mostly just a cleave thing. The problem is that it needs plus 30 for consistency. So it gives all units a bit of attack, 7.5 to 10% attack, and then it has a 75 to 100% chance to CR push allies after using an AoE. The big problem with this is the CR push is RNG, and it also has a separate check per unit. So if you use your AoE, you could CR push one unit and not CR push the other one, which means that it means that if you miss a proc, odds are you're going to ruin your tuning completely. It's not going to be a case where it's like, oh, well, I missed the proc, but my units are still in the right order. Nope, they're in the wrong order, and your cleave is dead. So this is pretty much just a cleave artifact, and it needs plus 30. But really, really good if you're a cleaver. I use this on a slower Berseria for Arena, but most people just use this on really fast units, like Litica, who is super strong right now. And it's pretty much just Litica because you're most likely only going to have one renewed will. But Briar Witch Assyria used to use this, it's just everyone has it on Litica now. Next up is Secret Art Storm Sword, which is mostly used on Ursuline. Just synergizes super well with her because this only procs when an enemy uses a non-attack skill. It gives the holder CR push plus attack buff, and Celine also procs her S2 when an enemy uses a non-attack skill, so it's pretty much made for her. This does also need plus 30 for consistency, sadly. The CR push always activates, but the attack buff is 75 to 100% chance to proc. Other units that can use this, it's some ML Celines use this, just if you want to cut with the CR push. But it's mostly just green Celine, I would say. In the future, maybe some thieves that want the cut with the CR push could use this. I've seen people use this on Closer Charles and Tempest Surin as cheese, like a while ago. That's mostly just for cheesing in Arena or Guild War. Next up is Uberius Tooth. Uberius Tooth, you can use this on mostly Amiki and ML Peyra. Amiki, she just already has so much additional damage, so the extra additional damage from Uberius works out very, very nicely. And then ML Peyra, if you're not using Sweet Miracle on her for cleansing, you can use Uberius Tooth for more damage. Uberius Tooth also has the issue of needing plus 30 for consistency, though. Next up is Shepherd of the Hollow, 20% evasion, and then bonus damage with even more damage the lower your HP is. This is pretty much used on evasion thieves. You could add in Remnant Violet, Closer Charles. There's other evasion artifacts, like Double-Edged Crescent, but the counter is inconsistent, and some units have built-in counter already, or Moonlight Dreamblade, but pretty much all thieves these days have built-in attack buff on their kits. So this is pretty much just the evasion thief artifact. Next up is Alexa's Basket. This artifact gets used on high damage thieves that don't have attack buff in their kits, which is mostly just Arbiter Vildred. BBK can use Alexa's Basket sometimes, other times using Shepherd of the Hollow, I forgot to mention her. But she mainly just uses one of these two. Abyssal Crown is used on debuff mages. It's Arceti, Saltaria, Archdemon Shadow, pretty much any unit that wants to spam stuns with AoEs can use Abyssal Crown. It's a very RNG artifact, but whenever you proc the stun is very, very good. Lastly is the B tier. I would say these artifacts, you only pick these if you know exactly what you're picking this for, because these are all used on like either one specific unit or it's more niche. Rise of a Monarch is used on ML Ilwanav, and that's pretty much it. This gives you 10% defense to all allies, and also a barrier to the lowest HP ally after you move. ML Ilwanav, with all of her CR push from S2, uses this artifact super, super well, even while being on a slower build. Next up is Golden Rose. This is kind of an alternative to Secret Scythe. This artifact gives you damage boost when you're above 50%, and then lifesteal when you're below 50%. Damage boost instead of attack boost means that this works better on HP and def scaling bruisers, but the other downside is that since the damage boost is only active when you're above half, when you drop below half, you won't lifesteal that much compared to Sigurd's, which also boosts your attack when you're below half, so you actually lifesteal even more. That's one thing to keep in mind, but this works on units like ML Lilibet, for example, is a def scaler, or potentially Lionheart Sirmia. There's also Elberus Ritual Sword, which is a lot lower because the counter knights aren't that good right now. I would say this probably goes on Abyssal Euphine mostly. ML Landy is not really a unit anymore, but Abyssal Euphine uses this artifact a lot if you're not running her on a protection set build or something with Aureus. There's also Elegite Candle, which is an artifact for opener rangers, pretty much. You use this on like Litica or something, but mostly Renewed Will is what you use on Litica, and if you don't have Renewed Will, a lot of them are on Guiding Light. So this is kind of just a backup artifact. The effect is nice, chance to death break after attacking, but it's not that high of a proc rate, so it is pretty inconsistent. But this is definitely a usable option for any opener rangers that don't want Guiding Light, or if you run out of Renewed Wills. There's also an offer you can't refuse, which is pretty much just for Elegos. It's just Elegos artifact. You do kind of want plus 30 on this for consistency, but if you are running Elegos, then you can put this on him. Next up is Celestine. Celestine is the it heals after using a single target attack, mostly used on Blood Moon Haste, has very mild PvE usage here and there in like Hall of Trials or maybe like an Abyss floor or two, but this is mostly just for Blood Moon Haste. Next up is Bastion of Perlucia. This is kind of a backup artifact for Knights. If you run out of Holy Sacks, don't want Aureus, and also don't have any damage reduction artifacts to run or anything, you can use Bastion. This artifact gives barrier plus immunity buff to the holder plus the unit in the back row, so it does offer a decent amount of protection. You do need to be careful of stuff like DJ Basar, because he can just invert your barrier, but if you want a bit of protection, maybe for Guild War or Arena, or if you're just not worried about DJ Basar and RTA, you can definitely use this artifact. Next up is Unseen Observer. This artifact, I would say, is mostly used for offensively with ML Polonus, or for anybody who's still using Flan, she can use it too. ML Polonus, especially in Guild War, you can press S3. Unseen Observer will give you 10 souls after you use a non-attack skill, and then you can just Soulburn Genua right after, so this is pretty nice, I would say. Yeah, it doesn't give any effect besides the souls, and you get a bit of CR push after using S3, but it only procs once per fight, so it's pretty much just for front-loading a lot of damage with the Soulburn that you would gain on the unit that goes after your unit that uses their non-attack skill. Next is Spatio-Temporal Fan, which is cutting off the page, but this artifact has a 75 to 100% chance to give stealth to the unit with the highest attack, and also gives effectiveness to whoever's holding it. So this kind of only really gets used on ML Polonus because she uses the stealth super well, or she uses the effectiveness very well, and then the stealth will go on whatever unit she's running with, so typically Genua or something, and it just offers more defense to whatever high attack unit you're using, so this is an option for her. And then that's pretty much it for all of the artifacts, though like I mentioned, there's the buff event, not the buff event, there's the balance adjustment that's coming on 8/7 with the notes on 7/25, so maybe more artifacts get pushed up, maybe something that was useless becomes very useful, so you definitely want to keep an eye out for that.